And we have the cars out on the racetrack warming up those tyres prior to the start of the Peter Jackson Dash this morning. Let's take a look at the way they will line up after the draw. Wayne Gardner has pole position for this race. He'll start on the inside of the front row in the Coke Commodore with Dick Johnson in the Shell FAI Falcon alongside. Row number 2 made up of Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson Falcon and Lightning Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore. Row number 3 is Alan Jones, the second of the PJ machines, and starting alongside him, a very competitive Neil Crompton in the second of the Coke cars. Row number 4, John Bower, the pole man in the Shell FAI Falcon, and alongside him, third quick man yesterday, Peter Brock in the Mobile Commodore. And the back row for the Winfield team, Mark Scaife and Jimmy Richards. Wayne Gardner on pole, car number 4, the Coke machine. Dick Johnson alongside, lights ready to turn to green. They're creeping from behind, and actually Larry Perkins got a blinder between the two of them as they head down to the left-hander, Wookett Perkins, and going between them is Alan Jones. Seaton has caught down the inside, and it's Larry Perkins got sideways, tail just, he caught it beautifully as he went into that turn, but he sprinted away here. This is the man so far that's got more of the Peter Jackson Dash money than anyone else.
Well, Larry better watch the starters booth, because I think he's likely to get a black flag. They might be kind to him, but he genuinely was creeping. But good on him. He took off from the second row like lightning he is. And here we have a real dash this morning.
Well, Dick Johnson, I'm sorry, Mark, has gone from the front row to be running last. What a difference.
Extraordinarily bad start for the Shell team leader. Great start from Larry Perkins though too. We'll see what the stewards say, but showed plenty of muscle and plenty of guts to push him through on that very daunting turn 1. Leads him through now. Gardner behind him. First the Peter Jackson cars in third, then the HRT car. Great battle this, the first lap around.
Gardner is still fairly close to him in that Coke machine.
Well, the Coke boys are extremely happy with their engines now. They've really got them.
Got one out of shape there. Is that 30 seat?
30. That is Glenn. Yep.
Yep. Seaton's lost it. First time around. Strong run from Alan Jones here too, who's in the wars in qualifying. Only 10th fastest. A long way behind his teammate Glenn Seaton in second, but taking advantage of that draw this morning to muscle up here on the leaders.
Well, Mark Scaife has done a pretty fair job in the Winfield Commodore. He started on the back line. The poor old Winfield team, it's been like Team Penske in the last couple of shows. They really haven't had their act together, but I would think that Scaife looks far more competitive here than he's looked since the start of the championship.
Yes, he has picked it up there, Mike. He did some fast laps on the Friday and Saturday morning, and I think he's comfortable with the car.
Look at Alan Jones here, closing in on the back of Wayne Gardner's Commodore the last time around, 3.93 kilometres around this twisty Sydney circuit. Let's see if he can do anything. Has a look down the inside. Gardner moves over to cover his territory. Jones keeps going side by side, and around we go.
Had to happen, and these two have been protagonists here over many, many Winfield Triple Challenge races.
They've had match race after match race
there. I don't think Wayne Gardner will be particularly enamored by that move. Don't blame Jonesy for taking advantage of the gap, but little squeeze play there, a bit unsporting, I would have thought.
Well, that takes the pressure off Larry Perkins. Sprinting away at the front here. Alan Jones maintained his position. Head of Peter Brock, Mark Scaife, John Bower, Neil Crompton, Jim Richards, Dick Johnson, Glenn Seaton, of course, went to the back of the pack. So Larry in control as he unfolds this final lap.
Well, he's pulled away. That's open to 8 car lengths, but the battle for second is fabulous. Back behind Larry Perkins. Alan Jones has moved up to take over second spot. Right behind him is Peter Brock. They'll come up to the final corner now. Then there's the long sprint downhill to the checkered flag here for the Peter Jackson Dash this morning. It might be raining, but Larry Perkins looks strong out there as he comes in to take the checkered flag for the Peter Jackson Dash. Second spot will go barely to Alan Jones. Third is Brock. Fourth to Mark Scaife, and John Bower finishes in 5th spot. A very competitive Peter Jackson Dash here this morning at Eastern Creek. Larry Perkins, the winner in the Castrol Commodore. Second went to Alan Jones in the Peter Jackson Falcon. Peter Brock was third. Mark Scaife was fourth, and Johnny Bower rounded out the top 5. 3 magnificent Auto Action trophies for the Privateers Cup. Auto Action, Australia's weekly racing newspaper. Again, getting behind the Privateers. Wayne Russell on pole position with Paul Romano alongside. Row 2, Terry Finnegan and George Ayoub. Row number 3, Kevin Heffernan and David Attard. The next row is Bill Attard and Steve Reed. Then it's Greg Young and Claude Giorgio, Bob Pearson and John Trimble, and Phil Ward and the Nokia Commodore at the back of the field. The man on the outside of the front row wins the start, Paul Romano, and David Attard down the outside. That's on for young and old, and also making a brilliant start there as they headed into the first turn was Phil Ward in the Nokia Commodore, but Have a look at these two guys at the front. They've been splitting some of the top touring car drivers in the Shell Championship Series so far. Oh, there goes Wayne Russell through. Steve Reed is through there. And there is Chris Young going off in the Bettigro car. And I think it was George Ayoub that maybe went off with him at the same time. David Attard, car number 49, continues to lead. Paul Romano in second place. That Alcare air conditioning car has the wide open spaces at the front straight at Eastern Creek to play with now, and he's able to increase that lead over Romano. There's a good scrap developing back behind them with a wall of cars. Terry Finnegan, Stephen Reed in the Layersvale Smash Repairs car, and right behind them is the driver we've mentioned on a couple of occasions, Phil Ward in the Nokia Commodore.
Yeah, good run by Ward coming from the rear. As Mark said, drew 10th position. There's no penalty for that. It's just bad luck. But he's really excelled here coming through the field.
How close Reed gets there as he tries to stick the nose of the Commodore into the Sony Auto Sound car. Beautifully presented an example here from Terry Finnegan, the Sydney privateer. And closing on them is Phil Ward, the Nokia car.
Good run by Terry. He's a stalwart competitor based in Sydney and looking good here this morning in the Sony machine.
Whoa, wow, Steve Reed gets right out of the dirt there. I think he had 4 on the grass. Phil Ward capitalises, shoots past the Lansvale car. He's pushed his way up to 4th position as they cross the start-finish line and head out on their final lap.
There might be a chance here, a third, Wardy. They've got a lap to go. The Auto Action Privateers Cup at Eastern Creek. Fabulous concept, and giving these guys who don't get a lot of exposure against the Glenn Seatons and the Dick Johnsons and the Peter Brocks, but they're the reason that we have full touring car fields in the V8 category all throughout the season, and they're doing a great job as Wardy looks for a third from the back of the pack here. He'll work to the inside.
Try the Alan Jones trick, but he's a little bit shy, pulls it back, probably a wise move because Finningham is moving over to take his territory, gets a little bit sideways in the Sony car.
Terry trying hard there. When you see a puff of smoke coming off the tires, you know, late braking. And here's another go. He's really making a nervous attack here. Finnegan is nervous. Locked up brakes again.
Aren't these blokes having a serious go? Phil Ward all over the back of the Sony car. Has a look at the inside. Just pulls the nose back in. Lock brake there.
Steve Reed standing back here saying, I'm going to just watch these pair in front. I think I might pick up any pieces if there is a collision.
They're not going to catch David Attard meanwhile.
Well, Finnegan got a little bit out of shape on the exit to that corner. Ward's capitalised. He's come right up on the back of the car. Let's see if he can do anything through the little 3 turns coming onto the main straight for the final time. Reed can't get past the Nokia car. Ward can't get in front of the Sony car. They're side by side, but here's our race winner, David Attard in the Alcare Commodore.
He's done a fabulous job. The Alcare air conditioning car. He's first. Matt Romano's boy, Paul, takes second spot, and here's the scrap for third as Phil Ward just fails to get Terry Finnegan right on the line. Great Privateers Cup by Auto Action. Fabulous finish. Here they are on the Shell race score for the Auto Action Privateers Cup. David Attard the winner. Paul Romano finished in second. Terry Finnegan was third. A great fourth to Phil Ward and a good fifth to Steve Reed. Let's go down to Andy Raymond.
Thank you, Mike. 2 exceptional races to start the day. Congratulations, winner of the dash, Larry Perkins. You qualified 4, you started from 4, and you got a hell of a start.
Yeah, I don't mind starts like that at all, and it's my second dash this year, and I'm very happy with that.
Is it an indication of what we can see in heat number 1, the close racing in the dash?
Well, I'd like to think it was, but I'm not going to be so bold as to say it will be, but I'm going to be trying just as hard for the race.
Congratulations, we wish you all the best. Winner of the Auto Action Privateers Cup, congratulations to David Attard. You sort of got out in front and just left the boys for dead.
Yes, we drew number 6 for the start and just got a brilliant start, led from start to finish comfortably. And I'd just like to pay credit to the guys that work on the car. They've done a fantastic job. Alcare Air Conditioning for supporters, Larry for giving us a hand when we need it, and also Auto Action for putting on the series for us.
David, congratulations. We hope you last the 2 races today. We've seen 2 very exciting dashes for cashes this morning. Don't go away. We'll be back at Eastern Creek after this break.
Glenn Seaton, car number 30. Second top qualifier at Winton, the same here at Eastern Creek, and here's the man he has to beat. The series leader for Shell, John Bauer, car number 18. This could be an electric start, the second row. They're a little closer to the front row here at Eastern Creek rather than at Winton, and it's Perkins and Brock. We'll keep an eye on them. Set to go. Race 1, round 7 of the Shell Touring Car Nationals. They're off the line. Seaton's away, but they're line astern. Brock tries to get down the inside, and Mark Scaife into a bit of muscle power here as they make it into the left-hander, and I think he's done it on the outside of Brock. Bow's clear. Seaton finds himself being garnished here by Larry Perkins in the Castrol machine, so he's off and running strongly.
Well, an absolute another fantastic start by John Bow. 3 in a row. That's not a bad average. Just fabulous.
You're really looking at this guy at the height of his powers, aren't you, Alan? He's qualifying well, 6 out of 7 so far in the championship, and just making some blinding starts as he chases down his first championship. Larry Perkins, though, great start from the second row to push his way up to second, and the rest of the field sold themselves out. There's Mark Scaife and the Winfield Commodore. Bit of a fight back in form from the Winfield boys here this weekend.
That's good to see. There's Johnson on the outside and Alan Jones up the inside. I don't think it'll be long before Perkins finds himself under fire from Glenn Seaton. Another woeful start from Seaton. He must make one good one before the end of the season. There's Bow sprinting. Perkins second.
Massive field following down Corporate Hill for the first time. 26 cars in all, the V8s on fire and in big numbers in Sydney today. There's Larry Perkins coming under fire from Glenn Seaton in second position. Third position is in fact Seaton. Brocky got squeezed wide at the start. In fourth, then the first of the Coke cars. It's Crompton in car 7 as they come back toward the straight. There's long 250km/h run down to turn 1.
John Bow already in the groove, and the advantage of having no one on his back bumper bar at this stage. Larry's sitting there, but he's not on his bumper bar. Look at that gap for the first lap. He'll just compound this lap after lap into a cushion.
Well, it's a bit of a grind run here. 22 laps around this 3.93km circuit. John Bow obviously on some pretty soft tyres. Let's hope they can hang in for the distance of the race. Larry Perkins in second position. Seaton just not giving him a moment's room as he sneaks up the inside on turn 2. Larry's not going to give up. Yes, he is. Seaton, good grip, run out of turn 2, moves up to second position. So it's a Ford 1-2 at the head of the pack.
We saw that on Castrol Oil's race cam. Beautifully caught, as Glenn Seaton has to do and play another game of catch-up, all because of a poor start.
Yes, but that was a very good move on the catch-up department, Mike. He played that one well. He took the momentum off turn 1 and just lined Larry up and got him on that fast left-hander.
What is funny, last year Peter Brock took the lead at the start of this race. Everyone in the grandstand stood up and just cheered for 21 laps. We've seen John Bow take the lead on the first lap and hardly a soul got up out of their seat. I think they're planning on maybe something from Peter Brock late in this race. He's certainly a favourite here at Eastern Creek, and here he is.
Well, he's certainly got the right tyres. Bridgestones have been the form tyres at Eastern Creek over the years. He's nailing Larry Perkins here in these opening laps. Crompton's going with him. Dick Johnson, John Bow's teammate, a long way back through the pack. I think he's still in the top 10. But a great battle ensuing here as Brock hunts down Perkins.
I think Brock learned his hard way at Winton that he just has to get a little bit more with it on the opening laps. He can't let the race unfold, and he's really starting to monster Larry here.
Well, he's in the
second lap.
He's in the draft. The crowd's starting to warm to this just a little bit as Brocky hones in on the tail of Perkins. Crompton is next, followed by Scaife. Then it's Jones, Dickie Johnson. Wade Gardner is the next one into the left-hander as Brock starts to mount a challenge on Perkins.
Real speed off turn 1. Those guys are flying through that first left-hander as we take GIO race cam.
Here's the move.
Larry getting to the inside, Brock on the outside. Gets shuffled back, Perkins covers his ground very effectively. Great battle here too. Brock currently second in the championship, trying to make up the points deficit to John Bow in the lead of the points table this crucial round of the championship. Brock hovers all over the back of Perkins' car, and Crompton not at all being left behind as we take GIO race cam and show you that as he hangs onto the back of this battle. Just keeping an eye on these two in front. Let's see if Crompton, currently in 5th position. A great run at Winton only a week ago. And a good fight back and forth from the Coke boys as we approach Mount Panorama in a few months' time.
There's Brocky pulling out of the stream, not really concerned about it being a slipstream up that straight, but just trying to flash his presence to Larry Perkins. But Larry's got a great handling car. He's very happy with it. Unfortunately had electrical problems at Winton and didn't show as much last weekend, but he's out here today with a vengeance, and Brock not able to get by him yet.
Well, the impression I get is that Brock's closed up, so too is everyone else behind Perkins. Larry could be holding up the roadshow at the moment. We'll have to wait and see whether or not Brock can get by him, because out of a turn, that thing of Perkins barely hops out of a corner.
Well, it's amazing. There's a real deficit of lap times here, Mike. The two Falcons ahead of him running in the 1:34 second bracket. Perkins and the rest of the Commodores at 1:35. So the Ford showing a clean pair of heels here. been fastest all the way through practice Friday and Saturday, and reconfirming that pace here in the opening heat Sunday. Brock couldn't do anything about Perkins last time through here. Two great adversaries, teammates many years ago, but you couldn't get bigger enemies now. Here's the leaders, John Bowe, Glenn Seaton in second position. As we take a look at the rest of the field, there's Perkins in third, Brock in fourth, Crompton still hanging on to fifth, but coming under increasing fire from Mark Skaife in the first of the Winfield cars, and Alan Jones pushing his way back up through the field as well.
He certainly is, behind Mark Skaife, who's having a better day. Freddie Gibson's had about the same luck as Roger Penske in the last couple of months. And Penske, of course, running the Marlboro cars, Mercedes cars at Indianapolis. They won last year and they've won just about everything. They haven't even made the 33-car field this year, and the Winfield team last year started perfectly.
Well, they really did take a tumble at the beginning of this season. Skaife's horrific crash at this very venue in testing earlier in the year. Jimmy Richards crashed. They're behind the 8 ball, but they're fighting back.
The baby-faced assassin is on
back.
the move.
He's back. He's much closer, and he'll certainly be analysing this race with a view to fighting his way onto the front row in qualifying, and then throwing it away in those first couple of laps. And now look here on John Bowe's bumper bar.
Well, Seaton's the fastest man on the track at the moment. He's just fired off a 1:34.45. That's half a second up on Bowe's best time. And it's showing here as he zeroes in on the back of the Shell FAI 18 Ford.
I don't want to preempt anything, but this was almost what Peter Brock told me yesterday would happen. He had his money on Seaton. Well, either the Bridgestones, that was probably the tyre back. Well,
not quite touching. Not quite touching, but very, very good precision driving. Glenn Seaton actually had a very quick time on the Saturday morning practice, the non-qualifying session, and didn't quite equal that in his qualifying session, but he's obviously got that setup in the car that can give him some real snap, and we're seeing him here closer to John Bowe than he was at Winton.
Hasn't John Bowe done a fabulous job this year? All the struggles with Dunlop through the earthquake in Cobo and all sorts of supply problems. He was saying yesterday, the way he is working with this team now, Jimmy Stone, who engineers the chassis, and John, both former open wheeler guys, the level of communication between them is so good, and they're obviously getting the most out of this chassis, and showing here, but boy, isn't he coming under fire from Seaton.
I think it's great. I just want someone to race him, that's all. Get a race out of it.
Well, this is a race for sure, Mike. There's no question here. If John sneezes, he's going to be in a bit of trouble. And Seaton's knowing that he's got to get right on that back bumper bar to be in the slipstream onto the main straight where he can really start hauling some speed.
Yeah, that was a good exit. He sits in behind him. I don't think he's got enough to do it with now. Bowe moves across the racetrack to protect the inside. Seaton is back 1 car length behind him, so not a lot has changed. That's about been the split for the last 2 laps.
Flying Ford's just streeting the field too, Mike. They've got it out to 3.18 seconds after 5 laps, showing superior speed in these opening laps. 5 laps down of 22. Seaton really puts the pressure on. You couldn't get a cigarette paper between those 2 bumper bars.
No, he's holding it extremely well there, and he really is pressuring John now. There's no question about that. Here we go.
Look at this for defensive.
I don't like it.
Are you going to park him? No, he passes him.
He's got him. Well done.
Holy moly, we've got a race going. Finally, it's taken about 6 races to someone get up. Nothing disrespectful about John, but he really needs some competition up there. Obviously, he can't get it from Dick Johnson. He's down at the tail end of the field, throwing everything at the number 18 car and suffering badly himself.
So Seaton changes position at the top. Bowe in second. Still Perkins, Brock, Crompton, Skaife, Jones, Dickie Johnson in 8th, Wayne Gardner in 9th, and Tony Longhurst. That rounds out the 10.
Well, Glenn will be particularly pleased with that because he couldn't have been very happy with the first 2 laps, and now to get back and opening up on John, I don't know whether John's saying, look, I don't need this agony. He'll be watching his rearview mirror with Perkins not too far away, and Brock still hassling Larry.
Look at the battle behind those 2. Here we got Mark Skaife, Alan Jones pushing past, I think it's Neil Crompton.
Well, Skaife's done a good job. He's been able to get past Crompton.
No, I think we've got a better Winfield number 1 car here this weekend that we've seen for many races this season.
I think that's great. It makes them competitive, and they look like they want to go to the front again. Brock closes again on Perkins. He's got the headlights on, so the Osram's at full bright.
The Osrams.
Won't make any difference for Larry. He'll stay put. Giving a favour to the Holden Racing team from Larry is unheard of.
6 laps down of 22 at Eastern Creek this afternoon. Brock not being able to do anything about Perkins at this stage. Larry gets a little bit sideways on the exit to turn 2.
Well, this is real competitive racing. You can't say the Holden Racing Team can be hurting for funds and to have a customer car, and that's the only way they think of Larry. Just someone that they would like to beat, but they're not doing it here today.
Now, he'd be frustrating for them because he reminds them, and here he goes, still trying to hold Brocky off. Brock's scenario yesterday to me was that Seaton would take the lead inside 5, and he said, I've got enough, I think, to outmuscle Seaton.
Castrol Race Cam shows you Brock got a little bit sideways, and the crowd lets out an enormous cheer on pit straight here as their hero Brock pushes his way through on Larry Perkins and sets out after the Fords ahead of him.
Yes, the monster screen here in front of the grandstand, which is a fabulous idea, shows the crowd here in the main straight what's going on around the back.
Castrol Race Cam, another marvellous view of motorsport. You're just a few inches off the ground here, looking at the back of Brock's car as he comes on toward pit straight.
There'll be a little difference here as they come back on to the pit straight. The crowd off to the right in the grandstand, they've seen the Brock move. They're already working their way up to their feet to wave Brocky and pointing to the front. They sure are. He's got a love affair going with the folks here.
So Seaton in control on lap 7 of 22. John Bowe in second, Brock now up to third. Larry Perkins fourth, Scaife in fifth, Alan Jones in sixth. Then it's Crompton, Johnson, Gardner and Richards.
It looks an easy corner on camera, but just watch the way Brock was nursing it through that corner, just coaxing it, constantly correcting it. Not a bad act at 250k, I must say.
Well, Larry could well be in tyre trouble here. He's slipping back into the clutches of the cars, sneaking up behind him. He's doing slower lap times than the cars around him too. He slipped up into the 1 minute 37 second bracket, which would explain why he's being pounced on all over from all directions.
Well, the tyre war has become absolutely crucial. The formula is so competitive and every other nuance covered in so many equal ways that the variety of tyres, Mark, is starting to be the weak link in this championship.
Has it almost got to the point where we need a control tyre, Alan?
Well, I think it is, actually. It's hard to say that.
Well,
but
here comes Scaife up on the inside of Larry, and there goes Scaife.
Here's evidence of it. Larry Perkins, obviously in some sort of trouble, could well be tyres.
Here comes AJ.
Larry will drive as hard as anybody, but when he knows he's beaten, he's not a hog behind the wheel, and I think that was a decent move there, and Scaife by through. He knows that he's now got Jones to contend with, and I'm sure will go by equally quickly.
So Alan Jones sneaks up under the wing of the Castrol Commodore with no shortage of grunt in a straight line. The Castrol Chevy be able to hold out Jones down this fast part of the circuit, become the twisty stuff. Jones has got the rubber that you want at Eastern Creek this weekend. Jones in 6th, Perkins in 5th. Let's see if he makes a move on him. Under brakes as they come up to turn 2.
Yes, he will.
There he goes.
AJ's day. He's through on the inside, picks up one more spot, and it is good to see Jones having a good run, and Mark Scaife in the Winfield Commodore producing some of his best form of the season.
So lap 8 of 22 completed. Seaton still in charge. Bowe in second. Brock. Scaife now on a great charge up to 4th, and taking Alan Jones along with him up to 5th.
Here's the boy, the man out in front, running 3rd in the championship behind John Bowe and Peter Brock. Glenn Seaton heads down to the right-hander, and that's becoming a fairly good gap back to John Bowe. Let's check them out for you on the Shell Racecourse. Seaton is your race leader. John Bowe runs in second. Brocky, my man, is on the move, followed by Scaife and AJ rounding out the top 5. here at Eastern Creek Raceway. Car number 17, Dick Johnson, running 9th on the racetrack. John Bower is in 2nd spot. Tricky Dicky with our Dunlop race cam. How goes it, my boy? You're a long way back.
Mate, I'm a long way back for obvious reasons, that I've obviously selected the wrong tyre, I'd say, but that's in keeping with the way I've been doing things lately.
What, you've gone too soft, or?
Mate, I'm having trouble hearing you. I'm getting so much feedback.
Sorry. So have you opted for a soft compound tyre?
Well, I just sincerely hope that Bowie can just get up there and just keep his championship alive. He's doing a great job.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. He's still running in 2nd, but Brock is getting a little bit closer to him. I don't want to unsettle you. Last time we had a chat, I unsettled you at Bathurst.
Yeah, but I suppose that's just the way things crumble, you know, and we'll just have to wait and see if he comes out of this meeting pretty good, and just hopefully for the next 3 we can put it all together.
Dick, would it be fair to say that you're giving all your resources to John and taking a back seat to coax him in for the championship? I think we've lost Dick there. Wayne Gardner, Larry Perkins are still embroiled in their dice here as Wayne comes down on the inside. He's an old stager, Perkins.
But
never leaves doors open for anyone. But there it is, Wayne Gardner, car number 4. Was sort of taken out of the Peter Jackson dash a little earlier this morning by an over-exuberant Alan Jones. But he's caught up with Dick right behind him now.
Well, certainly pride on the line between these Castrol and Coke boys. They really are each other's yardstick, as Dunlop Race Cam shows. Dick Johnson coming in to pounce on Larry Perkins as well as he continues his slide back through the field.
Oh, that's a great shot, Dunlop Race Cam. That's the roof cam shot. Gives you a nice perspective of Perkins. Get across here to the right fairly shortly. I don't think there's much that Dick can do about it. I think he was... Oh, thanks, Larry.
Just kissing the curbs there, trying to give himself a little bit more real estate on the exit of the corner. It allows him to punch the accelerator sooner. You wouldn't think that it would be worthwhile, but it certainly is.
There's Dick at that end of the field, further ahead. It's on for young and old as Peter Perfect starts to lunge up on John Bowe in car number 18. I tell you what, Brock read this weekend, okay, 24 hours ago.
They knew something in advance, and obviously a lot of testing has taken place here over the past with Bridgestone, and they certainly knew the tyre to select, or the group of tyres to select for their teams here this weekend.
I tell you what, they're starting to jump up in the grandstand, and looking at the big screen and the pictures you're watching at home, with Brock coming up behind John Bowe, they're all willing Brock on for one more spot.
Well, it's very exhilarating for any driver, Mike, to be able to just ever so slowly creep up on the guy in front of you, and it certainly puts your best foot forward. I don't think John's got much of a chance here. It's only going to be a matter of time, and Peter's going to nail him.
Not only that, but I think Scaife's still on the move. Brocky comes up, just feints one down the outside, then pulls it in tight to see what's available on the inside of the exit. Not a lot there. Dow switches the inside of the racetrack as he heads up. Bowe tries to fight him and does, drives defensively, but I think he might get him to the racetrack on the exit to this turn.
He's going to just hold it nicely here.
By the look of it, today really is an important points-earning race for John Bowe. Really, if he's struggling for grip against these lead cars, he's just got to stay on that track, don't make a mistake, and keep racking up those points. He's got the point buffer now to take him all the way to the end of the championship.
Horsepower will get him down the straight ahead of Peter Brock, but it'll get fairly interesting now.
You got to remember, it's only a Chev behind him, and you got to take some handicap factor.
Henry III sitting here.
Yeah, paid political announcement.
The exit to that turn, Bowie trying to keep very, very precise. Look at the gap. There's Glenn goes through.
It's out to 5.19 seconds
Here
now.
comes Brocky down the inside. There wasn't enough left there, and while Brock is being contained here by Bowe, Mark Scaife and Alan Jones are coming up onto his bumper. He really needs to get past Bowe and try and put a little bit of distance in there, because I have a feeling if he can deal with them, so can they.
Well, we've gone half distance now. They're on the 13th lap, in fact, of this 22-lap contest.
Well, anybody that drove the way John Bowe did at Winton a week ago, you would expect him to be able to hold off just about anyone, and maybe we're just being a bit too adventurous with our comments here that Brock is going to walk by any second of the clock.
I'll have a quick 50 that says he will.
Well, you can put your money
What
down.
about that?
Oh, he's not there yet.
Well, it is.
Well,
Try that.
what lap do you want that 50?
Well, the trouble is, if John's going to drive like that, he's going to wear more of his tyres out too. He's really in the defensive mode, and Scaife has said, come on, Brocky, time to go, and Jones is there with a little more power than Scaife. I mean, fairly or unfairly, is John holding up the show at the moment? Well, stand by. Crowd are ready to stand as Brocky tries to line it up, but Bowie has just got a little too much power and is able to get him down into the bottom turn again. Fascinating scrap for second place.
Seaton continuing to build on his lead in the front, 5.41 seconds that time around. They can blow a blanket over these guys. Bow, Brock, Scaife and Jones. Crompton a little further back in sixth, just ahead of his teammate Wayne Gardner.
He's setting a very, very tough pace here, and these fellows are going to have to work hard to get by. I didn't actually get an answer to what lap you want that 50 on, Mike.
Oh!
Hey, oh, okay. Another go on the left here.
You wait till it happens, and then you'll tell us.
You can read the results. Here we go. I mean, Brocky has sort of signalled, I believe, that he's ready to pass, but just can't do enough about it at the moment.
Comes up alongside John Bow as they come down toward Corporate Hill. The crowd goes crazy. He's done it. And Scaife tries to go through as well.
And here comes Jones. The crowd have all stood as one.
Oh, look at the tyre rubbing on Scaife's car now. There's smoke belching from their front tyre. Will that clear? We don't know. But he's done a bit of damage to the front of the car as he boofed it into the side of Bow's car.
Yeah, he did a bit of damage, but he also, that was a very smart move. He tried hard, and he really capitalized on the vulnerability he saw in the number 18 car. Now here's Alan Jones taking a bit of slice of that vulnerability. So I think Mark's in a bit of trouble.
Yes, AJ would have said, well, hang on, my teammate's trying to win this championship too, but he's been able to get through. Bowie just fading back into the pack a little. I don't think there's anyone else going to catch him for the next few laps.
Well, by the look of it, there's two Dunlop cars in plenty of trouble. Larry started to slide back first. Now John Bow slipping back into the clutches. The crowd goes mad as Peter Brock comes across the start-finish line in second position. Only Glenn Seaton up ahead of him.
There's no doubt about the number of Holden fans in the stand. They love to see them.
Well, it's been a long drought for them, the domination of the Fords this year, certainly in the last few rounds. And the Commodores looking very quick and competitive here at Eastern Creek today. Brock in second, Scaife in third, Alan Jones in fourth, John Bow now down to fifth position, and Crompton hanging on in sixth.
There's the gap. Our race leader, that's the Mark Larkin Mitre 10 car. It's down a lap. Brock comes through. The next is Mark Scaife behind him.
Well, old Mobil 1 on the charge. Nothing wrong with their lubrication here today.
How's the 50 looking?
I didn't hear what lap you actually. I think it was a missed bet.
That's all right.
The bookies didn't get it down
I'll get you an antibiotic and a Synovus later.
We'll take the Synovus anytime.
14 laps down. These guys are on lap 15 of 22. Brock trying to close the gap. We'll monitor that for you as they come across the start-finish line this time around.
He's still in this with a chance.
Well, his
car's looking good. Ron Harrop managing the engineering side of the team, and
it's going to be a busy boy. Next month, Brock heads out on his run round Australia as we take Dunlop race cam aboard Dick Johnson's car.
We've got Thomas Mazzera monstering Johnson, Peter Brock's teammate. We're trying to just cover which side of the track we think he's going to effect a pass on. So far, Johnson able to just hold him at bay. There's not much in it, and Jimmy Richards starting to look like the Jimmy Richards of old. I don't know how old that was, but it's been a long time since we've seen Jim up monstering anyone.
This is the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th position. Mazzera goes with Johnson in a straight line. See if he gets him any aerodynamic toe as they come down to this very quick turn one turn. No room there. Has a look down the inside, then the outside, decides to follow Johnson through. Let's see if he can nail him under brakes as they come up to turn two hairpin.
Have a bit more momentum there, but Johnson will wake up to that. Not quite awake up to that move. Mazzera really did have the momentum there. Dick would have been slower through the turn one because of the tight entry, but still able to hold off Mazzera.
15 down. On lap 16 now. Dick Johnson, Dunlop race cam shows the battle here for 8th, 9th and 10th position. Thomas Mazzera bearing down. Bobby Pearson in plenty of trouble in the Product Commodore.
Holds it out of the gravel.
Saw him take a bit of a wild ride across the grass 7 days ago at Winton, and he's done it again here. That was through turn one too. Boy, he would have had his heart in his mouth for a few moments there.
Well, he was thinking of going back, and I just think I'll park here for a moment and have a think about that.
Yes, he's calling it a day, I think. No, maybe not.
Matthew, Mark, Luke and Pro Duck.
Yep.
He's alongside Dick as they head up into the next one, which will find Dick has the lie for the turn. And here's Jimmy Richards. So I remember I used to be able to do this.
Johnson moves over and covers his territory. Very wide circuit here at Eastern Creek Raceway. A lot of opportunities to come into the braking area. Richards around the outside of Thomas Mazira, side by side as they come back toward the start-finish straight.
Not quite, but a nice try. Very nice try on Jim's part. Still in the stream.
5 laps to go for the race leader, Glenn Seaton, as he crosses the start-finish line.
1,000 horsepower roaring by us every time a couple of cars go by the grandstand, and it certainly sounds fabulous.
Well, today proves more than a lot of things, the disparity between the different tyre makes here at Eastern Creek. If you haven't got the right rubber, you're really not even in the race. Dick Johnson getting very, very sideways as he comes out of turn 2 up toward turn 3, battling to stay in the top 10 with these two alongside him. Johnson.
Yes, I think it can become the Achilles heel of the championship in time to come, Mark. There's no doubt about that. So many other things seem to have been able to be chosen correctly. The formula from the word go was just a fantastic success. We've seen record crowds for 30 months, unheard of in the history of Australian motorsport. And now we have this dilemma, not only what tire, but what tire within each company. The choices are just driving these teams crazy.
Well, I guess I'll be criticised for saying, but part of the appeal of racing in the United States has been the control tyre. I mean, we've seen it, name your formula. Let all the companies pitch for the business, and it just means everyone's even Steven.
Formula One, for all intents and purposes, is a controlled tyre.
Well, we've had, I mean, it probably helps if you've got a tyre contract and you're up the front end of the field, but if you haven't, and everyone, the guy at the front of the field's paying for his tyres and the guy at the back of the field, at least they're even somewhere with the engine capacity and tyres. That's got to be fair.
Yeah.
And I mean nothing against the, the three great people, the tyre companies that have supported it, but beyond that, you've got to look and say, well, we need to go somewhere in a few years' time. That's just my opinion. Might be wrong. Oh, the two sitting next to me have just agreed.
We've both gone quiet. That's the
it had to happen.
Thomas Mazira getting fed up there, following Dick around. He's tried every different way to get past.
Big shout from the grandstand again.
Dick's
mad now. He's saying a few words there that we won't keep on tape.
17 laps down. Leader Glenn Seaton out on his 18th lap. And let's look at this again on Tui's Blue. Just a little tap from Mazira there to say, I've had enough of this.
That's all it takes is the slightest tap when forces, centrifugal force, leaning the car, can almost push a car out of shape by hand.
There's Dickie Johnson. Did that naughty man in the Holden hit you?
Well, Michael, it's like driving around down these tyres the way they are. It's just like, it's a bit harder than trying to find a jury for O.J. Simpson, I think.
Oh, that's a terrible thing to say.
Well, I tell you what, this race feels about as long as that trial too, I think.
Well, you haven't got that long to go. Can you make it, or will it be down to the canvas by then?
Well, I suppose I'll just have to wrestle the fly spot and see what happens at the end.
Well, you go off and have a good time, and we'll talk to the Holden man later.
Okay.
One thing you got to say about, I'm sorry, Mark, one thing you got to say about Johnson, he has got a good sense of humour. He's just been punted.
What's interesting here, the gap between Brock and Seaton now is down to 3.1 seconds. Brocky's brought it down from just over 5, so really starting to take some real estate out of this lead. Brock in second position.
Well, it'd be a wise Seaton to win just as slowly as he can. He doesn't want to throw this one away.
And I'll tell you what, Scaife also has been on the move, because only a couple of laps back he was sitting in behind Alan Jones.
Brocky just last time around was the fastest man on the track. He's just half a second faster than Seaton that last lap alone. So, and you can see him there. He's taken some big chunks out of this lead. Let's see as these laps unfold. Larry Perkins in trouble, unfortunately heading back to pit lane.
Oh, he's going to reverse it into his pit garage. He's calling it a day for this heat.
Andy will bring us up to date with the problems with the Perkins Castrol machine. That's the second race in the 2 weekends that we've seen Larry Park out of the first heat.
Not often you see a retirement from Larry Perkins. When you get 2 in a row, there's something amiss there. Very, very unlikely.
Well, there's your gap. Glenn Seaton, the Peter Jackson Falcon, leads Peter Brock into turn number 1.
He's done it again, 2.6 seconds. He's brought it under 3 now.
It could be worrying to Glenn if Glenn isn't driving conservatively, which I suspect he is, but he'll certainly know the potential of the Bridgestones that are coming up on his back bumper bar.
Well, if he is driving conservatively, it's quite conservative. 35.7, Brock's done a 35.1. He's pulled another 0.6 of a second out of his lead that time around.
Larry Perkins out. Let's go down to Andy.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mike. The Perkins car has been put back into the garage. There's smoke billowing out from the tyres. Larry, the rubber, you said, is just unserviceable.
It's finally caught up with us, this tyre shortage we've got from Japan, and we ran on tyres we'd never ever tested on before till yesterday, and we gambled that they'd be all right, but they've actually thrown the towel in a big way, and there's rubber all over the brakes at the moment. That's what all the smoke is.
Tell us, for the average person driving in the rain on their road car at home, is it something similar to that?
Well, what's happened is that the rubber has overheated because it's too soft for what we're trying to do, and it sort of just peels off slowly, and I mean, the bottom line, it was the wrong tyre and the wrong circuit, the wrong choice, everything.
And not a hell of a lot of fun. Larry, we hope to see you back out again.
No worries, I'll be out there next race, and I've got a different compound, and I'm very confident I'll be fine.
Larrick and Larry. He'd be praying for rain.
Graciously said, yep. I might add.
He'd be praying for rain for the second heat. If not, we'll put the water truck out. There's Glenn Seaton down into the left-hander. Peter Brock still making a little gain.
Just took a 10th out of him then, 2.5 seconds. It feels like Glenn is just in control of the situation, easing back a little bit, Alan. How would you?
Well, you can't say for sure. We can't tell that. I sincerely hope for his sake that's the case, but we've seen 05 in his 5-0 year come barreling down on a lot of young guys earlier this year. So I don't think it's a case of wondering whether Brock is competitive.
Let's look back through the field. The first two have gone through. There's Mark Scaife and the Winfield Commodore, having a much better day at Eastern Creek, running in third. Fourth is Alan Jones. Fifth is Bow, who's falling back into the clutches of Neil Crompton and Wayne Gardner and their co-Commodores. Jimmy Richards is up to 8th. Thomas Mazira is 9th. And Tony Longhurst and the Castrol Falcon rounds out the top 10.
The penultimate lap, but 1 to go, and they cross the start-finish line this time around. Seaton in control. And as Mike said before, a great fight back from the Whitfield team, just ahead of Alan Jones here in 4th position. In fact, a good fight back from Alan Jones himself. Only qualified 10th. He's been having a pretty miserable 2 days here in practice and qualifying, but now he's ground his way up to 4th position. Some 3 cars back from his teammate in the lead, so good strong showing from the Peter Jackson Ford team here this weekend.
Well, Brock would be fairly happy even in second at the moment, because he picked up passing points in the dash where he ran third this morning.
Nothing shabby about running second in this field, Mike.
Absolutely not. As they head down to turn number 1, gap about fairly constant. Scaife in third, Jones in fourth there, gap's about the same.
Last lap, Glenn Seaton maintaining that gap, 2.2 seconds, the gap over Brock that last time around. 7 seconds back there to Mark Scaife.
Glenn Seaton here with the headlights on, just to warn any of those slower cars he's coming up on that the race leader is approaching. Takes it into the left-hander. Brock a little closer than he was the last time they went by that turn. You'll see the gap. They head up now to...
I think Glenn's just using his head here for more than a hat rack, and definitely bringing this one down nice and gently, not making any stabby moves that are going to upset the handling, upset his rhythm, which is terribly important at this stage.
Well, I guess it begs the question, can Bowie do anything more on the tyres he's on? Because if he changes, he then goes to the rear. So he's also facing a problem.
He does have a fresh set of tyres for the second heat.
I'm saying he's got the same set of tyres that he had for the first.
If he's got the same type, he's in trouble, isn't he?
Slip back through the field again. And, of course, the finishing order from the first heat designates your starting order for the second. So Bow has a lot of battles on his hands today.
Checkered flag time for Glenn Seaton. This is race number 1. of round number 7 at Eastern Creek. Seaton wins barely from Peter Brock, who came storming at him at the finish. Third place is going to go to Mark Skaife, followed by Jones and John Bower. He'll just get across the line to finish in 5th place and away from the 2 Coke Commodores of Neil Crompton and Wayne Gardner. Let's check them out on the Shell race score. Glenn Seaton, the winner of heat number 1, round 7. Peter Brock placed 2nd and closing fast he was. Mark Skaife finished in 3rd. Alan Jones was 4th. Neil Crompton pipping John Bower on the line. Bower dropped back to 6th. Wayne Gardner was 7th. Jimmy Richards 8th. Tony Longhurst in the Castrol Falcon finished 9th. And 015 Thomas Mazira, the Mobile Commodore, rounds out the top 10. Just love those V8s. Welcome back to Eastern Creek. We're preparing for race number 2 of round 7. Drivers are on the grid. Let's go down to Andy Raymond.
Thanks, Mike. As it's been all year, the Fords have got the whole shot from the start and the Holdens have been forced to chase. Peter Brock starting from position number 2. Are we going to see a repeat of last year where you took the Eastern Creek round?
Well, it could be. I've got 22 points for the day so far. Glenn's got 20 because of some points I got in the dash. I'll be going to win this time. There's no doubt about that. So it gets down to a clean start. I felt I could perhaps pressure Glenn pretty hard if I got a good start, so we'll wait and see.
Your tyres, you've just said, are the big advantage. You, in fact, posted your fastest time on lap 19 in heat number 1.
Yes, yeah, it was quite extraordinary. And I would say that if I can get a clear bit of run this time, I think I'm absolutely capable of giving Glenn a bit of a shake.
The Holden fans wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter Brock, and to Andy Raymond. Well, don't forget, the grand final of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship will be at Oran Park Raceway on Sunday, August 6, when we will give you an opportunity to join us for Mitre 10 Magic Moments, and you could win one of these Mitre 10 tool sheds with $5,000 worth of product. We'll give you a special 0055 number on our grand final day, so keep viewing for that. Here's the lineup. Glenn Seaton and Peter Brock share the front line. Plenty of wide open spaces there for Brocky. Mark Skaife and the Winfield Commodore and Alan Jones share row 2.
Row 3 is Neil Crompton's territory with John Bower slipping back alongside him. Row 4, car 4, Wayne Gardner and Jimmy Richards moving up in car 2.
Row number 5 is made up of Tony Longhurst in the Castrol Falcon and Thomas Mazira in the second of the Mobile Commodore cars. In row 6, Dickie Johnson, the Shell FAI Falcon, and look at this, the young privateer David Attard in the Alcare Air Conditioning Commodore.
Great effort that. Phil Ward too, and the Nokia Commodore moves up. 24, Paul Romano, the sensational qualifying alongside him. Row 8, Terry Finnegan in the Sony Auto Sound car, and Bobby Pearson alongside in the Product Example.
Row number 9, Kevin Heffernan in the Price Attack Commodore, and sharing that line will be John Trimble in the Daily Planet Falcon EB. Row number 10 is Claude Georgie from the West Coast in the Falcon EB, and Greg Young in the Bettergrow Commodore VP.
Row 11 is car 37, Bill Attard, brother of David in the Xerox Shop Commodore, Mark Larkham alongside in the Mitre 10 Falcon. Row 12, all the way back there, Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore and Steve Reed in the Lansvale Smash Repairs VP.
Not too much to go. Wayne Russell in car number 62 out of row number 13 with the Pinnacle Motorsports car of Alan Gryson. Row number 14 is Ian Palmer and George Ayoub. A cracker Jack Field, no doubt about that. Also joining the lineup, Wayne Russell, Ian Palmer and George Ayoub at the tail of the field. Going to be a tough run for the privateers. We've got some hot shots up the front. Glenn Seaton and Peter Brock sharing the front line. Jimmy Richards backing back into position. We'll keep an eye on that second row, and particularly Mark Skaife on the inside in car number 1. The field is set, big crowd, perfect weather, a wonderful day at Eastern Creek. The next round of the championship comes to us from Malala in South Australia in July, the 9th of July. Crowd to their feet in the grandstand. Lights about ready to switch on. Racing, Alan Jones wins the start down the inside of Seaton. Seaton knows he's there, and look at the run down the inside into the first corner. They're trying to shut Skaife out, but they won't, the two Peter Jackson cars, as they make their way into turn 1. Brock was awfully wide, and there was dust everywhere back behind them. Seaton has gone through to take the lead. Brocky It's like the Melbourne Cup. He's going around the field, but he'll pay a penalty there as they make their way through turn number 2 and now work the back part of the course.
No use having the front row if you can't take off the line when the goes green, but Brock is recovering, but not in the position he'd like to be at the moment. He's got a tough job to work harder now.
That was a sensational start. Not so good for David Attard, the privateer, standout privateer performer, in big trouble there. Plenty of damage to the front of the Alcare Commodore. Disappointing end of the day. And here's where the action is at the front of the grid. And Mark Scaife, what a tremendous start off the second row. Seaton in charge, but there's Scaife in second. Paul Romano caught up in that battle as well.
Isn't that a pity? Two outstanding privateers who have not put a scratch on their cars all season. They both go out in the first corner shunt. Bad luck.
That is a pity. They need the laps around a track like this, which is such good driver training ground.
Well, Bowie can see it all slipping away from him. There went Phil Ward in the Nokia car up on the inside. Larry Perkins started up the back. Neil Crompton carries our GIO car insurance race cam as they go into the left-hander. He made a good start as well.
Oh, look at Brocky getting a little bit out of shape there. The corner coming onto the main straight. Crompton just behind him, the Coke Commodore, but here they come across the start-finish line. It's Seaton in command as they come across. Scaife behind him. Alan Jones in third, Brock in fourth. Crompton coming under fire from Bell, fifth. And Wayne Gardner behind them.
There's John Bauer, who started the day as fastest qualifier yesterday and led the first race. It's going to get awfully tight. They all know he's suspect on tyres here today. Neil Crompton, there's, as you can see, John Bauer behind to give him a little dab, dab, dab. Crompton can take that all afternoon, incidentally.
Fascinating shot from Racecam there. You couldn't get any closer. John Bauer trying to make some progress here. Get back amongst the points. He's right up behind Neil Crompton. Good strong run from Crompton in the car. Number 7, the Coca-Cola new car that came on stream at Winton. Doing a great job here. Looking stronger and stronger as the race wears on. He's got John Bauer bearing down behind him.
Well, if he's looking for any easy marks from Crompton, I don't think he'll find it. Neil's more intent upon finishing in the top 5 in this heat himself. Back behind him, Wayne Gardner is there, then Dick Johnson. So Crompton goes through in the Coke Commodore. JB trying to get loose of him if he can. Here they go into the right-hander. See how tight it gets on the exit to here. And the Coke car's lacking nothing in the way of performance and horsepower. Look, he actually got away from Bauer.
He did. He leapt out of that right-hander and now up here, up onto the top of the circuit, the left-hand horseshoe, just positioning himself. John's Bauer having a bit of a lunge again.
Well, they've got former Holden Racing Team engine builder Robbie Benson on staff now. I was talking to him yesterday and he's getting some serious numbers out of these engines on the dyno, and that will look very good when they're running down Conrod later on this year. Brock in third, fourth position as he tries to track down the leaders. Seaton, Scaife, Jones, Brock in fourth, Crompton in fifth, John Bauer still in sixth. Then it's Gardner, Johnson, Longhurst and Richards. That's the top 10.
Looking pretty good out there as they come rampaging down into turn number 2. And Bauer all over the tail of Neil Crompton, unable to improve his position at this stage of the race. In the meantime, Glenn Seaton getting away from the pack.
But great racing for the fans here at the circuit. Nearly 20,000 today and enjoying every bit of this beautiful circuit.
Seaton the fastest man on the track too, and doesn't he show it? A 1:33.67 that last time around, getting plenty of speed out of this thing. Beautifully sensitive chassis set up, obviously exploiting the advantage of the Bridgestone tyres around this place, and he's building on this lead. 1 second the last time around over Scaife, who tries to hang on in second position.
Yes, the kid made a good start, one of his few. Alan Jones actually got off the second row, then Glenn got off the front line.
It's a good fight back from these guys. They've had a terrible start to the season. A big shunt here in training for the Triple Challenge. And then Jimmy Richards stuck the other car into the wall of Bathurst. They've spent the first 6 months of the year basically rebuilding cars. That's thrown their test program right out of kilter. But they're fighting back now at the important end of the season.
Yes, it is important to see that fight back too, Mark. It's very easy in this business to give up or just not try hard enough. I shouldn't use the term give up. But I think the Winfield team, based on what we're looking at here today, are certainly going to be a force at Bathurst.
Alan Jones, after that brilliant start to Heat 2, 3 laps down to this 22-lapper, up in third position. Not quite as quick as the boss. Seaton cutting consistently faster laps than Jones here this weekend in the second car 35, Peter Jackson forward. So let's look at the field. Seaton, there's Scaife in second position, then there's Jones, Then Brock are watching Booth in fourth. There's Crompton in fifth. Johnson coming up behind him, what Bauer probably was. Then Gardner and Johnson. There's Tony Longhurst, car 25, currently in 10th position.
Yes, holding his own there. He qualified just out of that position yesterday, but holding a good 10th here today. It's strange to say a good 10th, but believe me, no shame to be at the bottom end of the top 12 in this league.
Battle for 5th and 6th. We follow Neil Crompton in 5th. The man who is harassing him is John Bauer in car number 18.
Not the position John likes. He's had a lot of fresh air in front of him over the previous heats this year and able just to drive the car exactly the way he wants to. But when you've got a fellow in front of you making life difficult, it's hard to get your rhythm just right. Just when you want to put your foot down, the other fellow's just eased a second or two. But he's close to Neil this time round. Very close, I might add.
Not sure if Neil gave him a signal and went to adjust the rear view mirror there as they come across the start-finish line.
The crowd like it. They're up on their feet.
I tell you, there aren't too many John Bauer fans here today. Every time a Commodore makes a move on a Ford...
Hello. They've just overtaken one of the Peter Jackson cars there coming through turn one. One of them's in trouble, whether that's Alan Jones or Glenn Seaton, I'm not sure at this stage. Look how close John Bauer gets to the back of Crompton's car. You couldn't be any closer than be in front of him. All over the back of the car. There's that car 30.
Car 30. It's gone that deathly silent mode, which would indicate a little something.
Technical or mechanical
He's looking
failure.
at all his gauges, all his switches. He might have had a fuel pump problem or something electrical. Seems to be running still.
Well,
that's bad luck.
Critical stage of the championship for Glenn Seaton. He really needed every point he could get here to stay in the championship battle, and he's come up against it here in Heat 2.
So it's Winfield, number 1 in the lead for one of the very few times this year.
Well,
won the heat at Bathurst after Dick Johnson broke his wing, but Mark will be very pleased with this
Well, I tell you what's it's going to get awfully savage back behind him though, because Alan Jones has moved up and Crompton has been now passed by John Bauer in car number 18.
So Seaton slips out of first position. So it's Scaife, Jones, Brock, Crompton, John Bauer. Just taken Crompton, so he'll move up to fourth position. Very tight in the top 5 as they head down toward turn 1. Scaife in command, and it would not only be a happy day for Winfield, but a happy day for the Holden fans. It's been a bit of a drought for them in the middle part of this championship. If they can fight back here and get some points on the board for the Lion, the General's men will be very happy indeed. Scaife working very hard at the wheel. No lack of commitment from this man, and a very brave fight back from that shunt earlier in the year.
Car looks good. Whether it's as good as he'd like it to be, that's another thing. No driver's ever 100% happy with what he's got.
Well, if there's one thing about a great team, they can go through their low points, but they've got the talent and the commitment. They always come back. And this is looking like quite a resurgence at Eastern Creek here this afternoon.
Well, there's Scaife locking one up on the way in. Car sounds to have plenty of horsepower. Alan Jones sits behind him and Peter Brock is one slot back. Let's go down to the pits to Andy Raymond.
Thank you very much, Mike. A very disappointed Glenn Seaton has just pulled into pit lane. You can see the frustration. No major mechanical problems. I'll tell you the problem. The gear stick snapped. It is plain and simple as that.
Can you believe that?
And a very disappointed Glenn Seaton walks back into the garages.
Well, I do recall that happening once to me. Pete Gagan came into the pits and said, I've got a gearbox problem, and handed me the gate lever, so it can happen. That's tough luck. Rather now than midway through Bathurst is the only plus about that.
But just when you got a chance of evening up that championship lead of John Bauer, nothing's working for you. Bauer picks up one more spot, so he's back in the points hunt again. I don't think there's much that Jones seems to be able to do with Mark Scaife, and Brock has yet to fire his best shots in this one.
Now Mark's coaxing every millimeter out of the surface there. You can see him just on the inside of every apex, running the curb where it's convenient on the unloaded side of the car.
Okay, let's go back through the field. Scaife goes through Jones. That's Peter Brock. The next one will be John Bauer in car number 18. He comes down that side of the course. Neil Crompton is then followed by Wayne Gardner. Then it's Jimmy Richards, Dick Johnson, Tony Longhurst in car number 25. That rounds out the 9. They're all scrabbling as Mark keeps the pressure going and the Winfield Holden.
Tremendous amount of soot coming out of all of these engines. People wondering why there's so much smoke on a lot of the shots that they see from the 7 telecast. It's just the engine management for a short race is set in a very rich condition to give them a real speed advantage.
Bucket load of fuel and a bucket load of horsepower.
Bucket load of horsepower. Economy is not a factor. Wouldn't dare run them this rich at Bathurst and chew up so much petrol. But for 22 laps around here today, they can let them drink as much as they want. 120-litre gas tank naturally never would be filled other than at Bathurst.
Just coming up to complete 7 laps in this 22-lapper. Mark Scaife in command from Alan Jones. Just 0.9 of a second behind the Winfield Commodore. Peter Brock a further 1.4 seconds behind them. Then quite a gap, 5 seconds back to John Bowe in 4th, and Neil Crompton right behind him in 5th.
He's driving this thing well today, and it's almost back to the number 1 car of old. They've got a soft setup on it. You can see it picks up the front wheel. It's got plenty of horsepower out there, so they found all the horsepower that they were lacking, and they seem to have the beast handling, and that's I think the lightning is going to strike here today for them at Eastern Creek. Dick Johnson, as we believe, has been calling his pit area, telling them that he's got a problem with his sight, that he's got his eyes filled up with water. He's having some trouble viewing it. I think we can see it.
He's probably taking some of that soot and smoke and leftovers from all the fellas in front of him, if the truth be known. But he is hurting.
Yeah, he's having trouble. You can see the tear ducts are working overtime there, and tears running down both his cheeks, and he's squinting and flicking his eyes. It'll be pretty hard work. Pretty distracting too, I'd imagine, Al.
Very much so. And doesn't dare stick a greasy mitt up there. The back of his gloves won't give it any relief.
What's more, he's got Tony Longhurst filling his mirrors. This is currently the battle for 8th and 9th position, just inside the top 10. Thomas Mazera running in 10th position. So Johnson brings one more as he comes onto the start-finish straight. Completing lap 8 of 22.
We go back to race cam. Having a problem today, Dick. Looks something wrong with the eye.
Yeah, mate, the fumes are actually getting to me, and I can't see where I'm going half the time. It might improve my performance, you never know, right?
Oh, you're down on yourself today, son.
Oh. Well, actually, I've got, because of the tyre shortage deal, I've got front tyres on the rear, which is not really helping the problem, but it's all a bit of fun.
Is that the same problem with all the Dunlop runners?
No, it's just a matter of what's left, and there's all sorts of things coming out of the closet, I tell you. Some of these privateers have got a better tyre stocks than we have.
All righty, well, let you carry on. Thanks, mate.
Thanks.
I think we're fast getting to the stage, Mark, where this tyre caper is going to have to be hung out and dried a bit. You can't keep slamming the tyre companies for doing the best that is humanly possible. It's not as if these tires are made in Bondi or Footscray. They all have to come from overseas somewhere, and it's a tough job for everybody to keep their rubber up to these teams. Yokohama will be delighted today to pull this one off. It'll be the first time they've seen a checkered flag for all but once in the season, and really controlled tire one way or another would be, if there was an earthly possible way of commercially achieving that with the great contribution that all the tire companies have made to Australian motorsport. But the successful formulas overseas are all controlled tire.
Mark Scaife, car number 1. Leads out of turn number 2 as we check out the Shell race score. Scaife the leader, Alan Jones running in second. Brock, is he saving something for the end of the race? Johnny Bowe is up to 4th, and Neil Crompton rounds out the 5. Back at the creek for a peek in a second. Back here at Eastern Creek, Mark Scaife, the Winfield number 1. The Commodore continues to lead. Race 2 of round 7. Alan Jones fairly close to the tail of the Commodore. And back behind them, it's Peter Brock. 1, 2 and 3 as we go down to the pits and to Andy Raymond.
Thank you, Mike, and a man who pretty much deserved to be in one of those 3 positions. Glenn Seaton, if you can just hold up the evidence, that's just bad luck, plain and simple.
Well, yeah, I suppose it is, Andy. It gets down pretty deep, this one, because we're coming back in the points and we're leading the race, really, and to have those sort of things happen, it kills you.
It's almost been the story of your year, bad luck so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, I suppose you go out there and drive your backside off and things like this come undone. Because all you can do is just fix them for next time.
We wish you all the best, mate. Enjoy and see what AJ can come up with.
Thanks, Andy.
Yes, he handles himself rather well. That is awful. I mean, for a gear shift to break and to have the basically the meeting sewn up here today, and to be able to then challenge Bow for the championship and Peter Brock.
It hurts, but that is motor racing. And
there's first, second and third. Here's John Bow running in fourth. So everyone else's bad luck's falling back into his arms this afternoon. Then it's Neil Crompton, followed by Wayne Gardner. Coca-Cola team we've dealt with a couple of times today, looking very, very strong towards the second half of the season in the endurance races, including the biggie, the Tooheys 1000 from Mount Panorama in October.
Yes, the countdown to Bathurst, I would say at this time of the year, Bathurst 120 days away. Just a nice time of the year to have engines and speed that the Coke team have got. They've had their difficulties initially, and getting to grips with new engines and working with new people. But to their credit, like other teams we've mentioned earlier, they've fought back and they've fought hard, and they'll get there.
I think Wayne Gardner with this team has just shown how tough and how competitive it is in V8 Group A racing today. This team came in with some very qualified and very experienced staff, 2 very good drivers and the right equipment from the word go, and they've just shown how tough it is and how much you've got to learn and how much data you've got to get together and how you've got to get that whole team working as a unit before you can even think about getting any sort of decent results. Now all that hard work is starting to pay dividends. It's starting to be consistently fast at the right end of the season.
Well, Crompton running 5th. Wayne Gardner obviously 6th on the lineup. Up front it's Scaife from Alan Jones, Peter Brock and John Bow. So from the tail of one Coke machine to the front of the other. And Tony Longhurst, pardon me, not too far back behind them.
So Scaife currently leading this race at half distance, over half distance, 11 laps completed. Alan Jones in second, Peter Brock in third, is Bow, and here is Crompton in 5th position with Gardner, his teammate right behind him. Jimmy Richards in 7th, Johnson in 8th, Mazera moves up to 9th, and Longhurst in 10th place.
We keep talking about Peter Brock in the 3rd spot, and you know there virtually hasn't been a race this season where he hasn't been in the top 3. And talk about consistency. There'd be another one I'd be worrying about in 120 days, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Yes, he's had a marvellous season going under Young in the Better Grow Commodore, coming up on Claude Georgie, I believe.
There's been quite a disparity between the performance of this man and his teammate Thomas Mazera through the season, particularly here at Eastern Creek. Mazera currently running in the back of the pack, back of the top 10 I should say, and Brock dicing for one of the top 3 positions. So a bit of a mystery there at HRT.
Well, it's not only HRT, Mark. I think it's probably all the 2-car teams. The gunners are the runners, and the number 2s, or the equal number 1s, are looking like number 2s back in the pack.
There's no such thing as an equal number 1.
Well,
only on paper.
Well, it sounds good in press. Well,
it does, yes.
Every team owner I've ever met has said, I don't have a number 1 or a number 2 driver, I just have equal number 1s. You mean lying through their teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You heard it from the living legend.
Cut it out.
12 laps completed on their 13th now. Brock.
It's always a wise number 2 driver that remembers who signs the checks.
It's true. Well, they make the exodus. Brock, we're waiting to see whether or not he can pick up the pace. You recall in the first heat today, it took about 15 laps, and then all of a sudden he was on their tail and making life miserable. Jones appears to be a little closer to Scaife.
Yeah, he's got that down to just under 1.5 seconds last time around. Brock is under a second behind Jones.
I think the Bridgestones have got some kind of a thermal release tablet in their tires, and when they get to the certain distance or certain temperature, they respond like crazy, and the drivers think they've got an afterburner under them. Mark Skaife still leading nicely, handsomely, one would say, from Alan Jones.
Peter Brock currently in third. And it's John Bowe, some 7.6 seconds behind.
He's done a pretty fair job, John Bowe, considering his tyres and so forth today, in this heat particularly.
Bad starting position by virtue of his finish in the first heat. It's the first time he wasn't on the front row of the grid. He'll be happy to get the points.
Got one in trouble, one of the Winfield cars.
There's Jimmy Richards. Well, it was all pretty boring out there on the black stuff.
Lightning on the grass.
So Jim gets back into it.
Jimmy was running 7th, so he would have lost quite a few places there, I guess, on that run across the grass.
So I guess I was generalising about the number 2s earlier, but Jim, as we take a replay here, the Tooheys Blue replay from Dick Johnson's race cam. Jim's run up behind Chris Young. Dick had a look out the right, but what on earth are you doing out there?
I think he ran up on him too close. They had to hit the brakes and didn't want to lock them up, so he let it fade to the right, and he just took evasive action. Alan Jones getting a little closer here to Mark Skaife now. Yeah. Nothing in any of this. It's only a gear change between them, and any one of these cars will pounce on Mark.
Still got a long way to go, just coming up to complete 14 laps of 22, so there's plenty of real estate between these guys and the flag. And as Mike alluded to earlier, Brock has a habit of coming gangbusters in those last 5 laps. But the orders could well change by the time we get to the checkered flag at Eastern Creek this afternoon.
Well, out of the two of them, if Brock and Jones were able to collar our race leader, I think the most aggressive of the two would probably be the man that's running in second. That'll be Alan. Brocky, he will fire up and try and get as close as he can, but so far he's been unable to do that. He might be just letting them set their own pace.
Amazing, the topsy-turvy nature of the fortunes this weekend. Alan Jones, a terrible time Friday and Saturday trying to get some speed out of the car. So we take Dunlop race cam as Dick zeroes in on Neil Crompton, currently running 6th. This is the battle for 6th and 7th. And Dick's making fairly good progress here.
Well, Dick's thrown the...
he's got front tires on the rear. He's doing a marvellous job just staying out there.
If he runs this thing in reverse, he'll be uncatchable.
Pardon us for laughing at ourselves.
Into the left-hander. It's getting a little tighter at the front.
Yes, I think Jones is starting to really hassle him.
Nothing in the lap times at the moment. They're only a 1/10 of a second apart, even 100th of a second apart last time around, so nothing in this. This was, Alan said, one slip from one of these two is going to make a difference in position. Brock just sitting there in 3rd position, waiting to pounce.
There's no win really in any of this for Glenn Seaton, whether Jones wins or runs second. Peter Brock starting to look like the overall points round winner here today, and will do it without a win. But he's got a little closer now to the tail of Jones.
I think he's just... Oh, he's not cruising. He's monitoring very seriously what's going on in front, but he's just waiting for a slip of some sort.
Keep in mind, they'll be talking back to their team chiefs, monitoring their lap times, maybe holding back. I only say maybe, just holding back.
Skaife's got the lights on. Starts to pick his way with slower traffic, make no mistake. These privateers are pretty busy when these quick guys come up behind them. Quite a speed differentiation. Track's quite narrow. And there's
Claude Georgie,
yep,
from Western Australia.
He's doing the right thing, gives him plenty of room. Brocky has to...
that's Bruin Brock.
Didn't quite get the flow there, and he's punched it. A little bit of oversteer, Fishdale. A little extra exuberance trying to catch up again. I think Peter came off 3rd best there. And a good driver who is being lapped will watch the rear view mirrors. It's something Giorgio can learn from this telecast.
So 15 laps completed. They're just going to complete their 16th as they come around this time. Skaife in command from Jones. Brock in third. Bow currently in fourth and doing a good job here. Difficult circumstances to hang on to fourth.
Much tighter inside run through that turn by Alan Jones. Scaife. Car really handling superbly. Very soft setup. Dancing around with the front wheel in the air into the left-hander.
Well, this is certainly the best we've seen the Winfield team for ages, and really all three of these cars are looking very good at the moment.
Well, it's been a very difficult 12 months. It wasn't for that little heat win at Bathurst earlier in the year, this team would have gone winless for 12 months. So it's been a long, long drought for them. And even though they were very competitive at Bathurst last year in qualifying, a crash early in the race in the wet resolved any chance of winning there. Really has been a very, very difficult time for them, but they're fighting back.
Here's the Shell Series leader, John Bow, car number 18, still there in fourth spot. Hasn't been his day. He's been battling those tyres.
Just shows how critical tyres are in this series. These cars are just so evenly matched now. The only thing you have left to exploit is the rubber, and if you can see John Bow, after such scintillating qualifying form, struggling to run back in fourth position, just an indication of how much the tyres rule in racing today. So Bow hanging on in fourth position, some 10 seconds behind Peter Brock in third position, and powerless to do anything about it.
And a week ago he was leading every lap. It's quite amazing, isn't it? Here we go. Red lightning. Is it red lightning? Yellow lightning.
This will be a heartening performance too for the Yokohama guys. Very intense development program throughout the year with Fred Gibson Racing. And certainly the shunt, a couple of big shunts at the beginning of the year, has put that program out of kilter, I'm sure. But now they're getting right back on track. This performance would certainly suggest that they're heading in the right direction. Very competitive times for Scaife. The mid 35-second bracket. Jones and Brock running with him, so there's nothing in this. Nothing wrong with this race package for Mark Scaife in Heat 2.
I'm sure this is the best he's felt for months. A great lift for a driver, and responsible for the development. It's up to the lead drivers to put the input into what goes into them in the first place. So to be able to lead this pack is no mean feat, and he'll know that, certainly after their runs over the last couple of rounds.
Wayne Gardner, car number 4, runs fifth, one spot behind John Bow. He's been able to come from behind, past teammate Neil Crompton. Would have had a perfect day, apart from the fact that Alan Jones spotted for him in the dash this morning by giving him a little touch in the door, which spun him out of contention. A brake lock up there on the way into the left-hander.
Yeah, you can do that a couple of times, but ultimately, if you kept doing that 7 or 8 times, you could take it right down to the canvas. You'll have a blowout on your hand.
Gardner currently in the 5th position in this field, some 5.1 seconds behind.
That's the second
Bow.
one. Shall we start counting?
So he's 15 or 16 seconds down on the lead battle at the moment.
Gardner goes through. Here comes Brocky behind Alan Jones. He's starting to uncork it.
Well, the crowd's standing and cheering in the grandstand in front of us that time around. They can see Brock sniffing a bit of blood here. Alan Jones falling slowly into his clutches. And this is what we said. Lap 18 down there into their 19th, and Brock coming on gangbusters in the last few laps.
Yeah, he comes through turn 1 just a couple of miles an hour faster and starts to gather up Alan Jones very dramatically. Still not as close as he'd like to be, but if he's got that kind of snap through turn 1, he'll just work away to the point where he comes onto the main straight as tidy as possible, slipstream him down the straight, and then know that he can reliably just nail it through turn 1.
Jones, you can see, has dropped back off the pace behind Scaife, and that's where the challenge has come from Brock. A few laps ago, he was sitting on his tail on the exit of that turn, but not so at the moment. There's Scaife getting away by about 2 car lengths. Down to the right-hander.
Tough 22 laps around here. We could be looking at just a degree of driver fatigue. Not that I would ever suspect that any one of these 3 fellows were capable of doing 22 laps around here, but it's very demanding. It doesn't really matter whether it was 2 laps. It's demanding if you've got this level of competition to fight.
It's corner onto the main main straight, critical for Brock. He did it very well last time around, was able to close the gap to Jones, but he's a bit further back this time. Alan Jones responding. Certainly faster than Brock through the back part of the circuit that time around. Brock looking for any opportunity he can get, trying to force Jones to make a mistake. But these are two of the most experienced drivers in the field, really taking the fight up to them every inch of the way. 19 down, they're into their 20th lap now.
Well, they've spread out a little, apart from the ones dicing up the front. The gaps then back between the other cars are quite enormous.
Yes, the application to duty here at the front, as it is always the case, is
Jones
very
a little
poignant.
sideways through there.
There we go.
George Ayew hangs to the right.
Whoa!
Yeah, Brock didn't see him.
No.
Had to flick it a bit.
Still a marvellous talent, isn't he, Brocky? And Alan Jones, for all their years of racing, they're still ultra-competitive. Brocky in his 50th year, enjoying his racing just as much as when he was a kid. Superbly fit and a very, very competitive car. It might be a little more competitive too, because don't forget our next round, which is Mallala. The skirts come up on the Ford. The ride height comes up, what is it, Alan, 25 mils?
It's not so much that the Ford is going to have to change. They're going to allow a few modifications to the Holden that basically were overlooked, it appears, 30 months ago. I don't know why it's taken 30 months for the General Motors engineers to figure it out that they need a bit more room, but in an attempt to keep the engineering level equal, they're going to allow the ride travel on the Holdens to be modified to effectively come up to the same that the Fords have at the moment.
So you're right about that.
It goes under the homologation disguise. I know that it's the wisest way to do any form of leveling.
Yeah. Getting a little tight again as we head up. Ooh, gigantic one there from Mark. Jonesy's maybe warmed to the idea of one good shot here as they come up on Young and the Bettigro Commodore. He'll hang to the left.
They're all in it now. They all know they can. Either one of them can win it. Mark wants to hang on. Jonesy wants to take it, and Peter knows that he can get it as well.
Just see their sails starting to puff out a bit. Now a bit of wind coming along.
Spinnakers are out.
On the second last lap. Next time they come across the start-finish line, they're sitting out in their final two, a 3.93 kilometres to do it in, and you can see a great sense of urgency here.
Just
these
a little,
last 2 or 3 laps.
Just a little more hustling from point to point, and it's quite visible.
Head down the front straight. Brock to the inside. Last lap board comes out. There's Jones. They all sit in behind Scaife, and everyone is willing Brock on to get up there and make it a Holden 1-2.
It's going to have to be a desperado on his part. He's been trying to apply the pressure for 21 laps. None of the two guys in front have cracked.
Well, that's one thing you won't get from PB, and that's any desperado, I don't think.
The maturity has always been one of his highlights, unfortunately,
and he'll get
those that raced against him.
Yeah, and he'll get to pick up points today on John Bauer. Glenn Seaton won't, but Brock went into this race as the point score leader on the day, and third, I think, will just about make him the round winner. We'll leave that to the stats people at the completion of this final lap to work out. But they're close. Jonesy just thinking about a little nip down there.
Oh, look at the lock brakes. They're all locking brakes coming into the corner. Up toward Corporate Hill for the final time. Getting desperate here. Alan Jones really closing into the back of Mark Scaife. I think he can have a go at the hairpin as they come down here for the final time.
It's not over yet. It isn't over yet.
Nothing he can do about Scaife there. A very conservative line for the Winfield driver. Look at Jones right on his hammer here as they come up toward the 3 turns onto the main straight. Critical ground now. Scaife looks like he's got it covered.
I'd say he has. There's nothing that Brock can do. Watch that inside front wheel just hiking off the ground as he comes through the final corner. Bound for the straight here at Eastern Creek. And checkered flag time. Brock can't do anything about it. It's going to be Mark Scaife and the Winfield Commodore first across the line in heat number 2. Brock comes down the outside of Jones, just can't do it. Jones will pick up second, Brock takes third, and John Bowe will take fourth place. Confirmation on the Shell Series race score of the top 10. Mark Scaife, the winner of race number 2 of round 7. Second went to Alan Jones. How close was it? And Peter Brock, a very fine third. John Bowe finished in 4th. Wayne Gardner of fighting 5th. 6th place went to co-teammate Neil Crompton. 7th to Thomas Mazera. Larry Perkins from the back of the field up to 8th. 9th was Dickie Johnson. And Jimmy Richards rounded out the top 10. And we'll be back at the creek in just a moment.
Welcome back to 7 Sports same-day telecast of round 7 of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. And these V8s do not disappoint. Again, a sensational day. 3rd place, a Ford Pilot. Congratulations, Alan Jones.
Thanks, Andy.
It looked to be a day for team boss Glenn Seaton. Things didn't go to plan for him. No doubt you're happy to be up here representing the team.
Oh, I sure am, because I had a lousy qualifying and I started in 10th in the first race, so I'm more than happy to be here, believe me. But I really feel sorry for Glenn because he had it all wrapped up, and I think the gear stick came out in his hand, but I really feel sorry for him.
Enjoy your racing?
Yep, always do.
Congratulations. 2nd place, and we know he's a favourite here. 1st in 1994, 2nd in 95, Peter Brock. Congratulations. Didn't quite have enough time, maybe a few more laps, and these two could have been in a bit of strife.
Well, maybe, but gee, it was a great race from where I sat. It was just like Scaife was just saying, like a bit of elastic between us, because the cars were like this the whole time. Just one would gain a few metres, one would lose a few metres. Yeah, I was looking for a gap there, and I guess I was probably being held up a little, but by the same token, Scaife was probably protecting the road pretty well and making sure that Jonesy couldn't get by. It was great racing from where I sat. I hope the crowd enjoyed it.
They certainly did, Peter. We congratulate you on 2nd and 1st place. It is great to see him back in the winner's circle. It has been a while. Mark Scaife.
Thank you.
I mean that in all sincerity, Mark. It has been one of those years for you, but congratulations.
Yeah, well, we didn't start out very well at the year at Eastern Creek, but it's great for the team. All the guys at Winfield and Yokohama especially, we've had a torrid couple of months, and to work as hard as they have and to get back now is a welcome return to form for us.
And a huge week for you, Mark.
Well, Belinda's probably going to do the job tonight, so it'll be a fantastic day.
A little Scaife in the making. At this stage, I would like Ross Brody, the marketing motorsport manager for Shell, to hand the winner's garland and trophy to the winner of round number 7, Mr. Mark Scaife.